Alright lads and lasses, I'm Xcentric Racer and we are back for another XFRS on Forza Motorsport 7. This time we had B-Class supercharged cars. Our first race we headed to Road Atlanta full circuit following this purple GT500 here, having to go around the outside of a Valiant Charger and a GT V6, making it 3 wide. The GT500 having to go the very long way around the outside, however. And does get into position against the Buick Regal. That Regal having all the straight line speed, not good through the corners. Of course, you're having to sacrifice something to make it strong at one thing. So yeah, it's going to fall through the field for the first part of this of Road Atlanta. The Ford Fiesta is was actually a little bit of a death trap. Gets a slight tag, I'm not too sure, but ends up in a half spin and is going to be dumped at the back of the field. However, that car had insane acceleration, no top end, but had an insane acceleration, but was a real bugger to drive. This G500 tried to go up the inside of the Valiant Charger, however was not able to do it. There was a Hellcat in the way, so it's just not able to make an advantage, and the G500 gets a little bit of a better run than the wide-bodied Hellcat. However, it is not good enough down the straights. The Buick Regal, like I said, had a lot of straight line speed. I'm pretty sure it was even gaining that Hellcat. Yeah, it was. It's actually trying to overtake the Hellcat. The Valiant Charger losing a fair amount of position, loses 3 positions down that main straight. Just having not as good as top end, however, was actually very good through the corners, trying to go around the inside of the G500, gets a position against that, almost goes around the outside of the Regal, however, is not able to do it. That Regal has too much acceleration down that small acceleration zone, heading towards the final corner, and is going to get that position. A Lamborghini Alta joins in this little fight, and then gets 3 overtakes heading into turn 1. The Alta had so much handling. A pink Fast and Furious Corvette tried to go around the outside of the Street 500. That Corvette was very good on the brakes, however there was a Hellcat in the way, so could not actually get past the GT500 because, well, there was a Hellcat in the way, so couldn't accelerate. And yeah, however, that Hellcat would have a little bit of issues through the S's. You can see there, it just falls off the road, and yeah, just loses positions to that Corvette and the Tipo. And they would then have to start focusing on trying to chase this little group. The GT500 was just falling back just a little bit. The Corvette, again, really good on the brakes, or is then on the back, sorry, of this GT500. GT500 is going to be on the inside of the Regal. However, as previously found out, the Regal has way much more top end speed than the GT500 and would actually get 2 positions down the main straight. The Tipo also would get 2 positions out accelerating the GT500 and the Fast and Furious Corvette before the little right kink. However, the GT500 does actually start to reel it back in because the Tipo had all the acceleration but then had no top end. However, the Tipo still holds that position against the GT500. The GT500 not having the acceleration, and the Fast and Furious Corvette just lost a little bit too much time. You know, was just a little bit too far back to make any moves. Further back, and a Mustang Boss had to deal with a Fiesta XR2 whilst trying to find a way past this 64 Impala. Having to go on the inside of the Impala, ending up towards turn 1. This Mustang Boss having good... It's actually, it was kind of a good overall car, as one of the Tipos fell off the road. Yeah, a few of the Tipos, there was many noises of wrestling the car around the corner, because the Tipo did not have any tyre width, so it was just a little bit of a death trap. The Fiesta XR2, unfortunately, has another collision, and is, again, dumped to the very back of the field. Probably not the very back, but was dumped massively far back. The Porsche 914 has a little bit of slip angle, so I had to really make the rash decision of then overtaking on the right of the Impala at the final moment. That was actually a pretty good overtake. Mustang Boss got a little bit of a dodgy run as well. As we're now heading onto this right-hander at the top of the course, the Mustang Boss taking a little bit too much speed. Is going to fall off the road. The 914, with its superior acceleration by miles, just absolutely flies away from this Mustang Boss. Absolutely buggers off. The Impala, I don't think, was actually catching that much, and as well. This was the battle for, I think it was 7th, I could be wrong, but this was further up the field anyway. The Mustang GT trying to find a way past Fairlane, I think it is. I could be wrong on that one, I'm not too sure. Looks like one to me. Yeah, it's a 2-dot, so I think it's a Fairlane. Anyway, the Mustang GT, the Fairlane goes very wide out of turn 1. That's going to allow the Mustang GT to go on the inside into this fast right kink, but the Mustang GT does struggle a little bit on acceleration. The GT V6 being able to sail past the Mustang GT, being on the clean run, making it 3 wide. However, is not quite able to get past the fair lane down the S's. It's still going to be side by side through the entire way through. Gets a little bit ahead, but not fully able to clear the fair lane. The Camaro Z28 also then started joining this fight. Mustang GT almost making it 3 wide, kind of does, but backs are pretty quickly of it. The fair lane running very wide out of the first right-hander here, heading onto the second right-hander to go on the back straight, having 1 tyre fire, but still going on the outside of the Mustang GT. Yeah, it was that was a good move, actually. That was a good defense, managing to hold it against this Mustang GT. The Buick Regal had all the speed in the world. Wasn't the fastest car down the straight. I don't know. I think the Porsche would outrun it. However, the Regal had probably had a bit more handling than it, just because big American muscle car. So yeah, just sails past the fair lane, and the Mustang GT was actually catching up with the GT V6, but the GT V6 was a little bit too far ahead. The fair lane having a good run, good amount of acceleration, is going to be the inside of that Regal. The Regal is going to have to yield that position, does not have the handling. The Mustang GT is then getting drawn into this little fight with, well, an uncompromised run and better handling overall. The Regal on the inside round turn 1, but still does not quite have that handling of the fair lane. The GT 500 Mustang is then actually getting drawn into this fight, with the fight and actually checking up the cars. There's Camaro Z28 is also starting to get drawn into the fight around the handling sections. The fair lane starting to run away a little bit from that Regal. The Regal just struggling a little bit too much through the corners. It's going to be very wide onto this onto this short straight here. Going to lose a position to this 2013 Mustang, almost loses position to the Z28, but not quite able, but, you know, has enough acceleration. The Z28 having to go around the outside, is going to draw it alongside. Then Mustang GT, a little bit early on the brakes, gets a small tag from the Camaro. The Camaro was not expecting it to brake that early, so it's going to get a very bad run, both of them, and there's just a massive mid-pack fight, and the Buick is just unfazed by it. It's just going to be able to run away down this straight, and the 2013 Ford as well is starting to run away a little bit as well from that big gaggle of cars further back. The Corvette outpacing both the Camaro and the Alpa, but the Alpa is going to be in the inside for that left part of the of the chicane, and is going to get that position. The Camaro Z28 is then going to try and find its way around the outside of that Fast and Furious Corvette, and I think actually does get the position. The Mustang bobbles a little bit too much with the curb on the inside of the final corner, spits it sideways, spits it out onto the grass, and the purple GT500 is then going to be able to get a position against the GT, managing to keep it on the road, and is relatively unfazed. The little group would kind of spread out, and the group at the front, what would kind of happen is through the handling sections, this back 3 of the group would catch up to the front 3, but down the straights they would all kind of they would just start to lose ground, and then the front 3, that the 2013 Mustang, the GT500 and the Buick Regal would sort of spread themselves out at the front, at the front of this little group. The Alpa almost going up the inside of the 2013 Mustang, almost making it too wide, but it's just a little bit too far back. It's on a very shallow line. That's going to put it in a bad run on this back straight, allowing the Camaro Z28 that we're following here to outpace it down the straight. The Fast and Furious Corvette, having more speed than both of them, makes it 3 wide down this back straight. However, the Z28 does not quite have the top end, actually, of that Alpa. That does have more acceleration than it, so the Alpa is able to keep its position against the Z28 down the main straight. A sort of silvery grey blue Tipo is starting to catch up with this little fight. Again, the Camaro having a lot of acceleration, actually a very good run. The Alpa having a bit of a dodgy run out of the chicane there. Is going to lose a position heading up towards the final corner. And yeah, the Corvette managed to gain 2 positions, hold on to those 2 positions, goes into ghost mode round turn 1. It's actually on a bad run. The Camaro Z28 gives a small tag to that Fast and Furious Corvette. Again, it's 3 wide, but the Alpa going around the outside of the pair of them, getting the overtake successfully. So yeah, that Alpa was seriously good through the corners. The Tipo then was actually getting drawn into this fight. The the Camaro spots an opportunity on the inside of that Corvette. That was a seriously good move, actually. Yeah, I guess the position against the Corvette is sort of alongside the Yalpa, but not quite able to do it. Is sort of catching up briefly, but runs out at top end. The Fast and Furious Corvette almost making it 3 wide, but it's going to be around the outside of this right-hander. Not quite able to get the position. And you can sort of see up ahead the group kind of splitting itself off and running away from this battle of 4 cars. The Camaro catching up to the Yalpa briefly, but then would start losing ground to it. And the Fast and Furious Corvette and the Tipo would make it 3 wide yet again. The Tipo having a lot more acceleration than both of the Camaro and the Corvette, getting past the pair of them. The Corvette is getting past the Camaro Z28. The Tipo then chasing down that Yalpa, gonna sort of have a look up the inside of the Yalpa, not quite able to do it. The Corvette, again, very good on the brakes and is able to gain a fair amount of time against that Tipo, but is not actually able to get the position. The Camaro Z28 is on the back of this fight, just looking for an opportunity. Both the Tipo and the Corvette get a little bit connected. The Tipo having a massive sideways moment. They managed to keep on the road, however the Camaro is going to spot an opportunity, go up the inside, and able to get both positions against it. Against the Corvette and the Tipo having a little bit of a bad run, being on the very outside of that 3 wide. Yeah. So the Tipo would be the overall loser of that little fight. At the front, the AMC Rebel, I think that is, the machine, had a little bit of an issue with the tyre on lap 6. That inherited me the lead, and then the fight really closed up at the final corner. My Aston V8 Vantage was actually a very good overall car, was decent around the corners, very good down the straights, but it's not as good as that Rebel. I'm having a little bit more handling, but the Rebel having a little bit more speed. I'm going to make that Rebel go in a very tight line through the first part of this chicane. I'm able to keep the position. The Rebel is going to try and go for the inside. I'm going to block that off really heavily, get a small tag that's going to spit me sideways. However, I do have enough handling, more than the Rebel, and I'm going to be able to claim the victory with that Rebel taking stick. That was a bloody good race for the final lap. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, it was a seriously good fun. So I would win race 1 with my Aston. Chris would take second with the AMC Rebel, and Impega would take third actually in this Range Rover. That Range Rover having a lot of handling actually. So yeah, it was actually a surprise. I actually had a fair amount of scares from this Range Rover that were following. Just the amount of handling it actually had. Yeah, it was seriously good. So for the second race, we headed to Cat National. The Range Rover being on the inside of many cars and able to get a good amount of positions, and it's just a moving car park as usual on that one. Camaro getting a little bit of connection. The Buick running very wide onto the grass. Actually scares a Tirana. The Tirana tries to find a way past and goes across the sticky gravel. Goes across the gravel and is not quite able to get the position. I'm then having a look on the inside of the Range Rover. I do make it a little bit too wide, I will admit. I was trying to find a position pass. I should have probably just yielded. I slowed down a little bit more than merely. The Range Rover gets, I think that's about 4 or 5 cars on the inside. One of the Nissan, I think that's a 300ZX, unfortunately just gets span out. You know, it was just an unfortunate car in all of that. There's just a lot of chaos goes on lap 1 in these races, and yeah, it's just unfortunate that it ended up getting span out. The Range Rover getting all of the Range Rover actually making a good way through the field. I'm pretty sure by the end of not really by the end of lap 1, was already in like 8th or something like that. I'm not too sure. Lamborghini Yalpa following suit. That Yalpa as well, actually having very good handling as well, as you saw in the last race, going up the inside. You know, getting a few positions around the final corner. The Range Rover briefly got past the 914, but yeah, the 914 then blitzed past again, also going on the inside of a Tipo. The AMC Rebel is then on the inside of this Range Rover, not quite able to get the position though. The Range Rover having a hell of a lot of handling, actually does tag the 914 around turn 1, is then going to try and go around the outside at turn 2. The Yalpa gets past the AMC machine as a small connection, and is going to lose that position. And yeah, just goes across the gravel a smidge and is going to lose some time. The Range Rover still trying to find a way past this Porsche 914, not quite able to do it through the S's. The 914 having a dodgy run, and that's going to, unfortunately, the Range Rover is just going to be spat onto the gravel. So I'm able to get past it. It actually loses a lot of positions, but I still have to defend from that Range Rover. That Range Rover has a lot more handling than I do. Very, very rare that that sentence is ever said, that a Range Rover has more handling than something. But hey-ho. Especially in Aston Martin. But yeah, it was genuinely true. So I'm having to defend from that Range Rover, and I had a Lamborghini at the front, and I'm not going to be able to compete with that Yalpa through the corners. All I had to do was make the Range Rover slow where it was strong, and it wouldn't be able to make me slow where I was strong. We're going 3 wide round the final corner, the Porsche 914 getting a huge sideways moment, getting a bit of a wiggle. I'm able to get past the 914. The Range Rover not quite, and is a little bit boxed in by the Yalpa. However, the Yalpa is then moving across to defend. Does move across, let the Porsche back onto the track. The Porsche, though, does gain a position against the Yalpa, again going 3 wide. The Range Rover getting both the Yalpa and the 914 into turn 1. A little bit further back, this was the back of the little group. The Range Rover would then start run away a little bit from this little big group of cars, following the Fast and Furious Corvette, trying to go up the inside of the 2013 Mustang, heading on to the SS, not quite able to do it, was a little bit down, was a little bit off the acceleration, so yeah, wasn't quite able to actually get a position against that 2013 Mustang. The green Tipo dips a wheel across the grass and has issues, so that's going to lose 2 positions to the Mustang and the Corvette. Up ahead there was a little bit more calamities as well. The Fast and Furious Corvette again is all over the back of this Mustang, just not able to actually get any positions, gain any advantages from it. Yeah, it's just having to follow single file. The Yalpa did actually get past that 914, and through the S's, that 914 was really slow. You can see it just really checking up the Mustang, sorry, and this Corvette is just checking them up massively through the S's. The Corvette gets a much better run out the final corner. Then the Mustang is going to draw alongside and is pulling away and is starting to draw ahead from that Mustang. However, it is still too wide, and the Corvette just starts to run out of speed just before the braking zone. However, it's on the inside. The the Mustang GT just asks a little bit too much of the brakes, unfortunately, and is going to end up off the track, losing a position to the Tipo, loses it to the Buick briefly. They just gets back past to the next corner. But yeah, wasn't quite able. The Yalpa then also falls off the track, heading up towards the S's. That's going to give the Corvette another position. And yeah, cars just falling off the circuit. The Corvette was just able to make do of it, and it's now going to be the Corvette's attempt to try and find a way past this 914. The Corvette, of course, having very good brakes, and 914 having all of the speed compared to it. Through this right-hand hairpin, the Corvette having a little bit of a sniff up the inside, is able to get that car alongside, does not have the acceleration though on this small zone, and yeah, it's going to have to go through the S's. The 914 running very wide, the Corvette just taking the racing line. However, goes a little bit asks a little bit too much over the curbs, gets a big spit, gets a big sideways moment, and yeah, is just going to lose a lot of time and not able to get past the 914. The Ford Fairlane was then having to fend off that Camaro Z28 again, and the GT V6. The Camaro, again, I like in this track quite a fair amount, you know, had decent handling, had good low-end acceleration, didn't quite have the top end, not as much acceleration as its Fairlane, but a little bit better through the corners, and yeah, the GT-V6 was starting to lose a little bit of ground to these two, but as they started fighting, GT-V6 is then going to start joining into this fight as more laggy things happen to this thing. Well, don't ask. The Ford Fiesta has a very dodgy run out of the S's, and does lose positions to both the cars briefly. However, it does get back past the this Fairlane. Sorry, is still stuck on the outside of the Fairlane, and yeah, it's still there. However, it does not lose the position to it. In fact, keeps the position just with a lot of its acceleration. That is just the advantage of having a car with a lot of acceleration. Even of course better than you through the corners, just small acceleration zones are your friend. However, down this long sort of back straight, it just doesn't matter. It does not have the top end of this Fairlane, and is going to have to surrender that position back to it, and we'll have to start the fighting all over again at turn 1. The Fiesta, though, if it is able to keep grip. It is got stupid amount of acceleration. Actually being able to go on the inside of this left-hander to get a little bit connected, but the Fairlane is able to keep hold of it. The Fiesta does back off a little bit to let the car regain control, and it's then going to try and go around the outside of this long, fast right-hander up towards the S's, and it's going to still be alongside. It does get the position, but they have a small collision. The Fiesta not having a good run. The Fairlane's going to get back past, but the Fairlane is still sort of alongside. Is then going to try a cutback on this braking left hairpin, sorry. It's going to be in the inside for another left-hander, but it's going to be on the outside for the right-hander. All this fighting then actually brings in the GTV6. The Fiesta gets a big slide out of that right-hander, and the GTV6 is now able to get alongside the Fiesta, but does not have the acceleration. The Fiesta gets alongside, does a big dive bomb, just tags the side of the Fairlane. It does get the position, albeit it was a little bit of a forced one. However, the GV6 tried to take advantage of it, however couldn't quite do it, and the Fairlane, well, the Fiesta, like I said, does not have the top speed whatsoever. The Fairlane is able to get back past the GTV6, draws it alongside, not quite able to get past, however. Does outbrake themselves a little bit, is going very wide. The Fairlane making the Fiesta going actually a very tight line round turn 1, is going to be on the outside. The Fiesta is going to be on the outside for turn 2, and it's going to get a big slide, and the Fairlane is able to get up the inside for this fast right-hander, but that Fiesta, again, has all the acceleration, holds it around the outside, runs very wide, however, out of that fast right-hander, and unfortunately does lose positions to both the Fairlane and that GTV6. The Buick wasn't terrible on this track. Obviously, it did not favour it as much as Road Atlanta. Yeah, all the corners. It wasn't really suiting this car. I can't remember what position this was for. I think this was sort of around midfield. I cannot remember fully, but was having to try and find a way past that Mustang GT again. I think it was 2013. I'm trying to remember years. However, is then having to battle with the Yelper. The Yelper actually liking this track quite a bit. All the nice all of the corners, slow speed, big braking zones, medium high speed corners, suiting our car really well, able to get past the Buick Regal. Yep, starts to pull a little bit of a gap from it, and is going to start chasing down that Mustang. However, Catalonia, the National and the Full Circuit have one very long straight, where the Regal is going to start gaining back all of its time. The Mustang runs very wide out of the S's, loses that position to the Yelper. Loses it briefly, however, does have the speed, so is able to reclaim that position. The Buick is coming thick and fast, and is able to go on the inside of the Yelper at turn 1, and is going to be able to get that position. The Yelper is then going to have to try and go around the outside. However, the Yelper spots an opportunity, makes it 3 wide with that Mustang. Again, not really getting turn 1 correct, and yeah, does lose both positions, that Mustang, to the Yelper and the Buick, and then the Yelper around turn 2. Does get a position against the Buick having a little bit of bother. The Mustang manages as well to get past that Buick Regal. However, the Regal is going to keep it alongside into the S's, but is just going to back out from it. It just does not have the acceleration. Sorry, the handling of that Mustang GT to be able to really hold it too wide, especially on the outside of that first part of the chicane. The first part of the chicane is actually really, really nasty if you've not got the good handling cars. The 2 cars up ahead were back markers, so ignore them. A little bit further up, there was another battle between me and this Rebel. Yeah, us two were in very closely paced cars. Both of these races, we constantly just battled each other. It was good fun. Our races with each other. My car a little bit more suited for this track than this AMC. However, the AMC was not far off my pace. This was, I think we were starting to catch up to a little bit. I think we were like 6th and 7th, I'm not too sure, but there was a big fight up ahead. The Fiesta and the GTV6 both managed to actually get past that Fairlane, and those 3 fighting is actually going to start drawing me and this AMC into the fight. The Fairlane and the GTV6 going too wide through the S's there, as the driver of the Rebel again has glitchy steering. Yeah, the replays are fun. Anyway, I actually get a little bit of a bad run checking up, and the Rebel almost goes around the outside of me at that left-hander hairpin, but is not quite able to do it, and this battle all of a sudden becomes a 4-wide battle. A 4-wide battle? A 4-car battle, sorry. I'm losing a little bit, just because I do not have the just because I don't have that handling of the... I don't quite have the Fairlane, and not the GTV6 either. And yeah, so through the more corner-intensive final part of the track, 2/3 of the track, so yeah, I'm not able to really gain a lot of time out of this long back straight. I had pace of both of them, able to get 2 positions down this start-finish straight, and the AMC is also going to try and follow suit. That car having actually more straight line speed than I am. It's going to make it 3 wide, being on the very inside into turn 1. GTV6 having to go the very long way around the outside. The Rebel has a little bit of a dodgy line, actually. Has to straight line the... has to sort of take off all the steering a little bit for a little part of turn 1. That's going to put on a very dodgy run. The GT500 is also going to start joining in this fight, and that very good handling Range Rover as well is going to be starting to get drawn into this fight. The Fairlane does lose a position to that GTV6. Yeah, and the Rebel didn't quite get a position against the Fairlane. The Range Rover gets a position against the GT500, and is then going to be on the inside for the for that left on a hairpin, but not quite able to get the Rebel. The Rebel having a little bit too much acceleration, however, around this right on the hairpin. Range Rover spots an opportunity and is going to be able to get that position against the against the white AMC. I might be calling it the completely wrong car this entire time. I do apologise if I am. However, the Shelby GT500 gets a position around the outside through the S's. That was actually a very good overtake, very brave as well. However, around the final corner, was on a bad run. So yeah, I lose position to the AMC, and that was going across the line. The Shelby did not quite hold a position, but the AMC was not able to get it back. The Range Rover out the front, and this Valiant Charger doing a little bit of showboating would take the victory. This car actually really did like this track, I will admit. Started towards the, I think started midfield-ish. But yeah, managed to get their way through the field and would go and take the win. So Nick would win with the Valiant Charger, Edu would take second with that Camaro, and Rabbit would actually get that Fiesta into a 3rd place. Our final race, and we headed to Yaz South. This one was actually quite a longer race than anticipated. I do apologise for everyone for that, and my voice is not really going to like this because this race lasted for about 15 minutes. Anyway, everyone is wrestling their car into turn 1, a few collisions between the Porsche 914 and that Buick Regal, and again, there's more calamities over curbs and things like that. Just so much is going on. The Cadillac that we're following has a little bit of connection with the Ford Mustang, and it's just going to let that Mustang go. It's going to drop a few positions, being very, very slow. The Range Rover that started, actually started I think, well, ahead of me, was actually making the win nicely. Yaz South actually suiting that car pretty well. The winner of race 2, that Valiant Charger, having to try and find a way past that Range Rover. The Range Rover, again, having all the handling, but that Valiant Charger is still got very good handling, almost making a nearly 5 wide down the short acceleration zone. The Porsche 914 does gain a few positions, but it's going to be stuck on the very outside round this final corner. However, Yaz also has a pretty nice long back straight, and that's going to really favour this Porsche. The Cadillac that we're following here gets a little bit of a dodgy run. I also really like this back straight, and I'm able to get past both the Cadillac, the Shelby Mustang, and I do briefly get past the GTV6. The Buick has a little bit of a panic, has to throw it off the track a little bit to not just take out the Cadillac that we're following. I wasn't quite able to hold the position against the GTV6. I don't actually have the handling of this track of that car around this track. It was a little bit of a handful at my Aston Martin, especially over the curbs as well. I had to be really careful. However, there was more calamities a little bit up ahead. We're playing basically bumper cars as cars are checking up against each other. Yeah, the Ford Fiesta actually was liking this track quite alright. It was a little bit risky over the curbs as expected. The Yaz curbs are awful. They are massive death traps. However, the Fiesta had so much acceleration going around the outside of the Hellcat. The Hellcat having a really bad time around the final couple of corners. They're losing a lot of time, and that's just going to check up a few cars further back. And yeah, the Cadillac, being the biggest loser of all, actually loses a lot of time and goes to the back of this little group. Yeah, there was the Tipo I think tries to keep back out, tries to keep out the back of the Hellcat, and is going to be on a very dodgy run through the first S's. The 300ZX again gets involved in a little bit more collisions, and that is going to make a lot of people check up. So now there's a massive fight towards sort of near the back of the field, but the fight would sort of quickly disperse as cars would sort themselves out. Quite more exaggerated round here. The cars sort themselves out in correct positions. The Fiesta going around the outside of the Hellcat. The Hellcat having a really bad run. And that's going to allow the Cadillac to get past the 300ZX, getting past the Tipo. The green Tipo gets past. However, unfortunately, there's just a clash of lines. The Hellcat goes to the brakes a little bit too late, and that's just going to unfortunately tag the 300ZX, and more cars had to check up. So that group kind of just dispersed. This was more towards the front, sort of outside the top 3, but sort of top 5-ish. Following the yellow Mustang Boss having to fend off a Valiant Charger, a Camaro, and that Range Rover. The Valiant Charger going up the inside at the first part of this actually really nasty chicane part. Then the Camaro tried to go around the outside of the Mustang Boss, not quite able to do it, and is going to have to yield that position. I also actually start to get drawn in, actually involved in this. The Camaro does get past the Mustang Boss. The Range Rover tries to go on the inside of this fast right-hander. It goes across the curb, starts losing it, and yeah, just gets a big sideways moment. That was actually pretty terrifying for me, to be honest, trying to go around the outside. I just did not have the handling at all to actually make that position. To stick the Fast and Furious Corvette would then start to get drawn in this fight a little bit. The Range Rover gets past the yellow Mustang Boss around the corners. However, the Mustang Boss is coming in the inside of this right-hander, but is going to be stuck on the outside for the left-hander hairpin. I try and go up the inside. I think I'll actually get a small tag from the Corvette further back. A lot of different altering braking zones and things like that. I actually get a really slow run out of that final hairpin, but I've got so much straight line speed that I'm able to start pulling again. Oh crap! Sorry, my recording software's had a lot of technical difficulties there. I do apologise. You don't worry, you didn't miss much. I did get a dodgy run. The Corvette gets a much better run than me. So yeah, so I lose the position to that Corvette. There was a weird technical difficulty. I do apologise for that. That's probably going to be on video, and I'm probably just going to have a monotone thing for quite a while. So I do apologise for that. Sorry. Anyway, back to racing. You're not thinking about technology. Corvette gets past the Mustang Boss. I'm not quite able to. I just do not have the. I do not have the handling of a lot of the cars here. So I actually, all my overtakes had to be done at this section here where my car was strongest. I do get a much better run this time than the Mustang Boss. I sailed past the inside of the Mustang Boss. The Mustang Boss actually did have decent top end, I will admit. I wasn't flying away from it. I'm then having to try and go around the outside of the Fast and Furious Corvette. I get a draw alongside. However, I'm then on a really dodgy line. The Range Rover had a very bad section there, and that's going to lose the position of both me and the Corvette. The Mustang Boss just has to check up a little bit so it doesn't go straight in the back of the Range Rover. And the 2030 Mustang GT was also starting to catch up to this little fight. The Mustang Boss having big issues through this double right-hander here. I have then a Range Rover going up the inside and then having to go around the outside of me. I'm trying to give it a lot of room. But yeah, I was defending quite hard from that Range Rover, just trying to keep it behind. The Corvette would start running away from this little fight. However, I do manage to keep the Range Rover behind. The Mustang Boss having a bit more acceleration than the Range Rover, then tries to find a way past, but it's not quite able to do it. It does not have the good acceleration out of the final hairpin. Both me and the Range Rover have much better runs, but I've got more top end, so that's just going to allow me to start running away from that Range Rover. The Mustang GT as well is starting to catch up to this Mustang Boss a little bit. Very good on the brakes. That Mustang was actually almost goes in the back of the Mustang Boss, but just managed to keep it out the back and doesn't quite go into the back of the vehicle of the yellow Mustang Boss. And yeah, the Mustang Boss is able to keep that position. However, that Mustang GT had a little bit of a think trying to go on the outside of this double right-hander, but was actually too far back. This Mustang Boss did actually have sort of good acceleration. It was kind of a good jack of all trades car. This good round the corners, decent down the straights, just was not the strongest anywhere, but was still holding on to that position against the Mustang GT. This was the battle at the front between the Ford Fairlane and the grey silver blue. I still don't know what that main colour is. Maserati Tipo. The Tipo actually was very quick around this track, having a lot of acceleration. And yes, whilst it was a massive death trap, having a big squiggly moment around the first section, all the slow and acceleration and, to be honest, good brakes and decent handling actually did suit this car quite a lot. It's then going to try and go on the inside of the stubble right-hander of the Ford Fairlane. They get a little bit connected, but the Tipo is still on the inside, much later on the brakes, able to keep that position against the Fairlane. The Fairlane actually gets a little bit of a dodgy run, having too much of an oversteer through that right-hander. Yeah, it's going to be on the outside for the left-handers underneath the hotel. The Tipo gets a little bit of a slide, but has a lot of acceleration. Sorry. So it's able to keep enough ahead of that Fairlane, so the Fairlane wasn't actually able to really keep the position against the actually try and get the position back against the Tipo. The Tipo was managing to hold on to that first place with its initial acceleration. I'm starting to run out of breath. The 914 was actually starting to catch up to these two as these two started a fight, and that 914 actually did quite like this track because of that long back straight. Yeah, it was actually starting to catch up to these cars. The Tipo is actually gaining a little bit more time against that Fairlane, but the Fairlane is still kind of there, is still in the background. So if that Tipo makes a big mistake, the Tipo is going to lose the lead, against that Fairlane. However, further back, the Valiant Charger was trying to find her way past the red Camaro Z28. That red Camaro Z28, like I said, having good handling and sort of good initial acceleration, not great overall top end. The Valiant Charger was good through the corners and actually did have good top end as well. And you can see around the final corner, the Camaro starts to pull away. Actually quite a fair amount, but as we start going more down this back straight, further down, yeah, the Valiant Charger starts to reel that Camaro Z28 back in. Actually reels it in a fair chunk heading up towards turn 1. Is quite late on the brakes, gets a much better run than that Camaro as well through the first section here. The Yalpa, I think that is it is the Yalpa, bobbles across the curbs and has a very bad run at the first section and is going to lose a position to that Camaro. The Tipo did unfortunately spin out across one of the outside curbs of turn 4 and yeah, unfortunately did lose lead. It was a shame, to be honest. That Tipo was really quick around here. But yeah, that is the thing about the Tipos. They can be massive death traps, and that Tipo definitely was. The Alpa does actually lose the position to the Valiant Charger, so the Valiant Charger is now able to start chasing down the Camaro Z28 yet again. The Tipo is now having to try and find their way back through through a little bit of the field. The Tipo, yeah, like I said, had a lot of initial acceleration. The Alpa, I think actually tried to go on the outside of the Valiant Charger. I'm not too sure. The replay cameras don't really show it. The Valiant Charger, however, is starting to chase that Camaro Z28 a lot down this start-finish straight. Actually tags the back of the Camaro a little bit through the first couple of sections. The Yalpa having a little bit of a slide going across the curves, but is able to keep hold. The Valiant Charger then gets a slide through the next corner. However, is able to keep position ahead of the Yalpa. The Camaro, because of those mistakes, the Camaro is starting to pull a little bit of a gap, but that Valiant Charger is still kind of there, is still sort of near the back of it. The Yalpa though is trying to find a position against the Valiant Charger, and that's going to cost the Valiant Charger time because it's having to try and defend against the Yalpa so it doesn't lose that position. So the Camaro is now starting to run away a little bit from it. The Yalpa tries to go for a cutback on the inside of the final corner, but it's not going to really matter too much. The Valiant Charger has too much straight line speed for that Yalpa to really get that position to stick. So it's not going to matter. So it's not really going to matter if it got past, because then it would have to because it would need to be far enough ahead down that straight so it doesn't get immediately overtaken by the Charger. Out the front, once the T-Bar had to spin, the Fairlane then had to start to worry about a ever-closing 914. Not too sure what was in third place, but it was kind of off the back of it. I think it was actually the Z28 Camaro. However, yeah, the Fairlane was now having to... Yeah, it was. The Fairlane was starting to have to worry about that 914. Like I said, the 914 was not great through the corners. However, it had good acceleration and had the top end. You can see that's actually closing a decent... You can see there, it's actually closing a little bit down that short acceleration zone. And to be honest, acceleration is actually a really handy thing round the south layout of Yaz. Because you've got the twisty section where if you've got a good acceleration, you are able to get positions, and if you've got good top speed, you are going to be able to get a lot of time down the start-finish straight, as that 914 is proving. It's going to be in the inside through the first part of the chicane. It draws alongside the Fairlane, and the Fairlane, both of them making them take the curb lines. Going to compromise them a little bit. However, that Porsche is still side by side. It's going to be on the inside, and with that just better acceleration, he's actually able to take the lead away from this Fairlane. The Camaro Z28 in the background, once these two started fighting, was then actually starting to catch up to the lead battle. And you can see that it's actually closing a fair amount. The Fairlane trying to find a way past, doing cutbacks wherever it can against that Porsche, trying to find opportunities. The Camaro actually spots an opportunity, gets alongside the Porsche. They are going 3 wide through the short acceleration zone. The Porsche, though, having the best acceleration of the lot, almost actually keeps position against the Fairlane. The Fairlane, though, is on the outside. It's going to be the inside for the final corner. I think the Camaro does overtake the Porsche briefly. However, it is not enough. The Fairlane as well tries its best, but it's not enough. Was not far enough ahead of that 914 to hold on to the lead. So the 914 would overtake that Fairlane and claim victory. So Aaron would win with the Martini 914. Drive would take second with that Fairlane, and Adu would take third with the Camaro Z28. Yeah, that weekend was that night was a lot of fun. I'll get there eventually to describe what it actually was. Yeah, there was a lot of fun, a lot of good racing, and yeah, my voice is starting to pack in a little bit. Now, I know I have missed one of the weeks. That is because I don't have all the races. If anyone that did actually take part in the last... What was it? The one previous to this one. If you've got the race 1 replay, please do let me know, and I can then start working on that one and get that as a YouTube video for you. I think we had Ford Utes round Miami, one of the layouts of Miami. Anyway. Yeah, so if you do have race 1, please please let me know that you do, so I can start recording that one. However, more about this. However, yeah, the B-Class Supercharged, a hell of a lot of fun. Was seriously fun. I had a lot of good racing, and there was good racing all over the field. However, that is going to be it from me. If you do enjoy this series and you want to take part, there will be a link in the description. The first link will be the Discord where this event takes place. Sign up there, give yourself the Forza 7 events rule, and you will be able to see the Forza 7 community races. Alternatively, if you want to join my Discord, second link in the description will be there in case you want to say hello to me. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed me trying to remember A, cars, and B, a lot of it going on. So I do hope you enjoy. If you did, do the stuff YouTube algorithm likes. However, that's going to be it from me, and until next time, ciao for now.